Hey everyone, Regal Reviews here. It is White Rice Wednesday, which means it's time for my Survivor recap. So it was a big 2-hour episode of Survivor tonight, so let's just get right on to it. So to recap on the big 2-hour episode, they were talking about the Dan vote-off last time, how two advantages were played correctly, and yeah, when the heck does that ever happen in Survivor? I mean, sure, advantages and idols are played in Survivor, but to have them all played correctly, I mean, that's impressive. I mean, Carl and Davey were looking pretty happy when they got back to Tribal. And Angelina then confronts the members on her tribe, wondering why exactly was her name thrown out there. I mean, why, not thrown out there, but why was her name written down? So now Angelina feels like she's on the bottom of her alliance, and that makes her more open to work with the Davids. So, it amazes me how people call themselves a fan of the game, but they don't learn from people's past mistakes. You see, again, the Goliaths are sleeping when the Davids again have the opportunity to go look for an idol. Did they not just see them the last tribal council pulling out those advantages? I mean, you would think they'd want to keep an eye on them. I mean, look what happened in H versus H when they were sleeping and they let Ben go off and find idols, and he dropped the Ben bombs. So, yeah, Nick actually ends up not finding an idol, but he finds a clue that the idol is, the way they were saying it, I thought it was going to be somewhere in underneath, like, the shelter, but apparently it's the furthest point away from the island, so he has to go at night to find it. So the reward challenge is 2 teams of 5, and they have to race on this rope bridge to land 3 rums on a target, and they had to be precise. Like, they couldn't just like throw the rum and it sticks. It had to be like even. And I gotta say, this is probably one of my favorite reward challenges, like going across that rope bridge trying to balance it. I mean, that was freaking epic. And they're basically playing for a Survivor picnic, and the winners ended up being Allison, Alec, Gabby, Christian, and Mike. And yeah, Alec, it basically thinks he's the star of the show at this point. I mean, we just saw him win immunity last time, and he's arguably the biggest physical threat out there. And the Goliaths now see that they want to possibly work with the Davids. And it was a really emotional moment on the reward because they got some letters from home, and that's going to mean a lot to everyone out there. I mean, you're playing this really intense game of Survivor, and to read those letters from home, have that little bit of encouragement out there, I mean, that's going to mean everyone. I mean, that hit everybody home out there. Everybody was full of tears and emotion. So, let me read my notes here. Kara then tells Alec that it's him next because they mistakenly said this information around Kara, and Kara's kind of playing like a double agent at this point, like she's Alec's closest ally. So it's, again, why would you tell Kara this or let her hear this? And everybody seems to be sick from the reward because they ate too much too fast. And then Nick at night ends up going to the first point, and he ends up finding a hidden immunity idol. So congrats to Nick on finding that immunity idol. So the first immunity challenge, they had to balance on this perch while holding this handle behind them. And if their hand left the handle, they were off, or if their feet left the perch, they were off. And Jeff then said if people felt comfortable that they're going to be safe tonight, they can sacrifice their shot at immunity for a plate of nachos. And Angelina, Carl, and Nick decided to forgo immunity in favor of nachos. And I gotta say, it really was David versus it was kind of David versus Goliath in this challenge, because it ended up coming down between Christian and Alec. And Alec was kind of being an ass the whole time, because at one point it was, you know, Gabby, Christian, Alec out there. And I gotta give them all credit. Being out there for 6 hours. I think it was about 6 hours. I mean, we haven't seen that in a while in Survivor. Like, this is arguably one of the best immunity challenges we've seen in how many seasons? And he's just like, you can see Gabby's obviously struggled. They're all struggling out there. But Alex, like, saying to them, oh, drop. Oh, that's it, drop. I'm like, what an asshole. And sure enough, it ended up being Christian that won immunity. So congrats to Christian on winning that immunity. That is well deserved. And kudos to Alec as well for lasting about 5.5, 6 hours. That's amazing. I wouldn't be able to do that. So they get back to camp, and Alec is, of course, upset because out of all the immunity challenges he needs to win, this is the one he needed to win because his name's on the chopping block. And he got emotional because he didn't want to, like, he didn't want to go out there having, like, all the votes, like, have it be an easy vote for him, you know what I mean? And then Gabby has a problem with Carl because Carl's now has become the leader of the Davids, and he's kind of getting a little bit too bossy and controlling. And Carl's telling everyone, you know, the vote should be simple tonight. No one should steer in another direction. It should just go all to Alec. And Gabby is frustrated because here, you know, you're supposed to be in this alliance with Carl, but he neglects to tell you about who's exactly is going home. Gabby was more infuriated that Carl told Kara, because, like I mentioned before, Kara is Alec's biggest ally, so why in the world would he let Kara have this information? Alec and Allison then have a moment on the beach thinking that they see Carl as the leader of the Davids and they think they should try to get Carl out. And Alec then tries to go to Christian because they do need Christian and Gabby to make the votes happen to get Carl out. So at Tribal Council, they were talking about Christian's impressive immunity win, and I think all the Survivor fans will be talking about not only the fact that Christian won immunity, but the fact that for the first time in, like, forever, that a challenge lasted that long. And it ended up being a landslide. Apparently, Alec got sent home from Tribal, and we learn later in the episode that it was, I didn't see exactly how the vote went, but apparently everybody voted for Alec, so yeah. So then to move on, Davids now have the numbers, and Christian is comforting Allison on the way back from Tribal because Allison did form a relationship with Alec. I mean, they were in an alliance, and it also seemed like not only like an alliance relationship, but it seemed like they had a, you know, genuine friendship out there. So she wanted to protect Alec, but at the same time, she also wanted to protect her game as well and say, hey, I'm willing to work with you guys. So Allison wonders if she can work with the Davids now, because originally she wanted to be in alliance with them, but she went with the Goliaths on the previous vote, so now she wonders, is her opportunity to work with the Davids missed now? So the second reward challenge of the night, they were in 2 teams of 4, and they had to swim to this ladder, and then they had to climb and leap off to get these buoys, and then they had to land them in a target. And it was a schoolyard pick, and it had 1 extra person, so somebody would not be chosen. And Christian ended up being not chosen. And they were playing for a Survivor speedboat, and they ended up getting fried chicken and cheesecake for the reward. I wouldn't be excited about the fried chicken, but I'd be really excited about the cheesecake at that point. And it ended up being Kara, Mike, Carl, and Davey that won. So let me see here. On the reward challenge, Carl, it seemed like he had a really good time on the reward. Like, he had a bit too much to drink, and he let slip that he thinks Allison should go home next, and Kara thinks that Carl's untrustworthy, and she also agrees with what I said, that he's had a bit too much. And Gabby then lets Christian know that she's ready to make a move out there. And Allison tries to make at that point to work with the Davids. She and Gabby seemed to form a genuine bond before, so she approaches Gabby to try to work with her again. And Carl then tells the Davids what he told Kara and everyone on the reward, that he wants Allison gone. And Carl tells Christian that if Gabby asks, that it's going to be Angelina. And that's going to be unsettling for Angelina, that her name's always thrown out there and always a scapegoat. Like, I got to give Angelina credit. Her name's always thrown out there, like, for about 3 or 4 tribal councils. Her game was on the line, but she's been able to survive all this time. But that's got to make Gabby also feel uneasy, because, again, she's supposed to be in this alliance, but she's clearly not in an alliance if they're not letting her know what's going on. So then Christian then tells Mike, approaches Mike, saying that maybe they should get rid of Carl, because, as Gabby put it, Carl's kind of like the godfather out there, that he's kind of controlling everything, and that Carl basically thinks that everyone should just follow what he says. And then Christian then tells Gabby the truth, saying that, I mean, he even gave her a wink and went like this, saying that the real plan is to vote off Angelina. And Gabby's a lot smarter than that. Everybody thinks that she's just this emotional player, but they don't see how strategic Gabby really is. So she basically knew what was going on. And at this point in the game, the rice is almost gone, so now the question is, how are they going to get more rice and more food to last them about 9 more days? So Angelina then thinks that she can negotiate with Jeff before the next immunity challenge to persuade him to give him more rice in exchange for giving up some of the necessities they have around camp. And Mike mentioned how that they need to do this, but he's also aggravated about Angelina. It made me think that if somebody, maybe if Christian recommended that or Davey recommended that, would he say the same thing? Not sure. So the second immunity challenge, they had to race over an obstacle, and then they had to go on this beam to get word puzzle pieces, and then they had to solve a puzzle. So automatically I'm thinking puzzle. I'm like, okay, Allison, Christian, Gabby, they'd be lock solid in this. So Angelina does approach Jeff about the situation, and she basically says if the offer is Jeff gives him more rice, he'll give up the fishing gear, most of the cooking ware and stuff, and I think 2 of the chairs and the hammock. And Jeff then counteroffers, saying that if somebody's willing to forgo immunity and sacrifice their shot at immunity, they'll be that he'll give them not like a full bag of rice, but enough to like give like portions of it, you know what I mean? And Angelina actually sacrificed her shot at immunity and decided to sit out. And I definitely think that was a great move for Angelina, because she was the one to suggest to negotiate in the first place, and I actually think this looks good on her favor. I think this actually will buy her more time in the game. So it was very close. It actually looked like, I think Carl won immunity, because he was the first one to get the puzzle solved, but it wasn't the right word. And then it was neck and neck between Davey and Allison. It ended up being Davey that won immunity. So congrats to Davey on winning immunity. I gotta say, he was definitely on fire tonight. So back at camp, Carl suggests that he wants to fix the rice. Now comment down below to hopefully maybe you can explain what was going on. Did they want to like pour some rice into a jug so that they have some rest for themselves, because hiding food around camp is definitely a big no-no. So hopefully somebody can clarify that. Allison is afraid that her game's in trouble because she lost immunity and she's heard her name being thrown out there. And Mike is unsure who to side with, because on one hand he could get rid of the Godfather, but then on the other hand he's had an alliance with Allison, and it might actually benefit his game more if he were to get rid of Allison. And Christian is unsure if he can trust Mike, because Mike is an actor in Hollywood, so, and Mike even said that he has to put on a performance out there to show both sides of, hey, I'm with you. So, yeah, I think it's right not to trust Mike. So, at Tribal Council, Jeff did confirm that all the votes went to Alec last Tribal, and Allison fears that she could be the next one going home. And it also talked about a very interesting point, how a reward can impact the vote, because depending on how many rewards you go on or who you go on a reward with, you could end up forming a new alliance with, or someone could possibly reveal information that they didn't know before to the wrong person, and that could definitely impact somebody's game, who goes on the reward versus who stays on the island. So it's all a big game, like who wins rewards. And I honestly had no idea who was going to go home that second tribal, and it ended up being Carl that got sent home. So yeah, I think it was definitely a great tribal council. I thought it was a great 2-hour episode. I definitely think Gabby is a bit underestimated out there. Again, like I mentioned before, people just think she's just this emotional person, but they don't see how strategic she is. I also think Angelina's doing a very good job out there. I thought it was pretty crafty of her to mention about how she negotiated the rice with Jeff, and how she sacrificed her spot. Not her spot, but sacrificed her shot at immunity to make sure that the team had rice. That's very good jury playing, so the jury knows that, okay, this Angelina did this. And the fact that Angelina survived this time, and even more than that, I definitely think Angelina does have a good case if she makes it to the final 3. So yeah, the previews for next week's show, that it's the loved one's visit. I don't know about you guys, but I always look forward to that. So yeah, it should be interesting. It also is very interesting, the fact that Gabby wants to get rid of Christian. Maybe she wants to form an all-girls alliance of Kara and Allison. I don't know how Christian will take that Gabby wants to get rid of him. Maybe he might try to get rid of Gabby. We'll have to wait till next week. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's Survivor. If you guys want to check out Survivor, it is on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. on CBS. Until next time, stay regal.